Happy Friday, y'all. Welcome to an early edition of the SEO video show. This will be the last time we're changing the time. We'll be back to our regular scheduled programming at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time next week. Today's topic is SEO forecasting. Running a successful agency with Kevin Gibbons. What's up, everyone? Happy Friday. Let me know where you're from. Say hi in the live chat. Today's topic is SEO forecasting and running a successful agency for SEO. Today's sponsor is Ahrefs. Visit ahrefs.com/AWT. Sign up for free. Oh yeah. What's up, Bradley? Oh yeah, happy Friday, y'all. I see y'all out there. I see Adrian, Bradley, Thomason, Fletcher from Florida. Let's see. We got less than 7 minutes to go. It's a beautiful day here in the Bay Area, California. How's it in your area? Sunny, rainy, cold? Today's topic will be about SEO forecasting and running a successful SEO agency with Kevin Gibbons. Today's sponsor is Ahrefs. Let me see where our guest is today. Oh, there we go. I see Kevin. I see you. Hold on. Let me make sure I turn your audio on. All right. Can you hear me? Oh wait, you're pausing.
I can hear you. Yeah. Let me set up my headphones and mic.
Okay. All right. We got our guests in the green room. Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. Let me know where y'all from. All right. I see Fletcher from Florida. Adrian, happy Friday, my man. Bradley Burney from Canada. Hello. Thomason, welcome again. Thank you for coming every week, my man. Ernesto, yes, let's go. We got a lot of early birds today. We got Kevin in the back room, waiting, looking good.
Yeah,
all right. So Kevin, I don't know if you saw the format, but I go over like a couple of videos in the beginning for about
sure.
8 minutes, and then I'll introduce you in about 8 minutes in.
Okay, yeah, perfect. That's good.
All right. Davidson, hello. Yasmin Haas, happy Friday. Nubia Cohen, hello. And I see Glenn, what's up, dog? All right, again, today's topic, SEO forecasting and running a successful SEO agency. Today's sponsor is by Ahrefs. We got about 3 more minutes to go. I'm looking forward to this one, guys. I want to make sure I have those proposals ready. I want to close the deal. I want to be just as successful as Resignal. If you don't know who Resignal is, you're not from this planet. They have so many awards won. You got to check them out. Stefan, what's up, my man? Today's topics will be about SEO forecasting and running a successful SEO agency. The sponsor is Ahrefs. Get your questions ready if you're thinking about starting your own agency, or just if you're a consultant. This will be a good one for you guys. It'll be a good one for me too. We'll be talking about SEO forecasting and also what's in the SEO in 2022 book. Do I have anyone in from the US? Let me know. I will send you a copy of this book. Just email me, dre@seo.video. I got a few copies to give away. All right, guys, we got less than 2 minutes to go. I got my tea here, mixed with a little vitamin C. All right. Don't be shy, guys. Say hi in the live chat. All right, guys, we're coming down to the countdown. Kayak Life, what's up?
Wanna see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre DeVera, steady dropping knowledge. Over 15 years in the game, so he knows all about it. Master the art of SEO, you will be amazed. Time to get your brand off page to on page. Dropping knowledge, legendary for sure. Whether you're just getting started or self-employed entrepreneur. Yeah, let's go. Subscribe to the SEO video show.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the SEO video show where SEO is alive and fun. My name is Paul Andre DeVera, aka Dre, and I curate SEO videos released in the past week into about 1-minute clips. My favorite part of the show is when I get to introduce my guest, and my guest this week is the founder of Resignal, Kevin Gibbons. Before we get started, let's say what's up to everyone in chat. I see Kayak Life, Stefan, Fletcher, Adrian, Bradley, Thomason, Ernesto, Davidson, Yasmin, Nubia. Welcome everyone. But before we get started, don't forget to put I love SEO in the live chats to win your copy of the SEO in 2022 book. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Now let's get on with the show.
This is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. What do SEOs use when they go fishing? Link bait.
Google just posted a new blog yesterday on how AI powers great search results. It's about a 5-minute read. Be sure to check that out. The link is in the description. Okay, on Matt Diggity's channel, Kyle Roof shares his SEO silo technique. Let's check this one out.
When you think about, say, that target page, that main money ROI page, so I'll call that a target page. That's the page that when somebody searches for my money keyword, I want that to show up in Google. So I've done all my on-page to it. And maybe I've got some link building campaign, but at the same time, the next thing I want to do is I want to capitalize on my own authority. Like I want to capitalize on how valuable my own site is. And so I can do that by posting other pieces of content to support that target page. Now this is where Compound comes in. So for my supporting pages, I'm doing them within my tier. And that's how I integrate this into our on-page strategy. But then once you've got them built out, you want to interlink them in a certain way. So what I'm going to do is I've got my target page, and let's say I've got 5 compound pieces. I will interlink all the compound pieces together, and then I will link from each of them up to my target page. So they're all linking to the target page. They'll link to each other. I do them just kind of sequentially, A to B, B to A, and B to C, C to B, C to D, etc. That's how I link them. If possible, I also try to get one link from my target page into one of the silo pages, so you kind of complete the circuit and it goes around. That's not 1,000% necessary, but that's how I do it.
I've been following Kyle for years, and I have to say my SEO strategy is heavily influenced by what I've learned from him. Okay, be sure to check out that entire video because it's jam-packed with knowledge bombs. Does keyword density work? SEO tester Lee Witcher shared his test findings on the SEO Fight Club this past week. Let's check it out.
So looking at the data, let's say that using your keyword frequently, it's not penalized by the algorithms. Even Google says it's not penalized by the algorithms. We couldn't find evidence of it, both in data and in testing as well. Certainly not ignored. They say, oh, we just ignore that and look at the other parts of the page. That's not true either. And it is beneficial for rankings. We see that in keyword density testing, some other things, the more used, the better you are. And that's not the only thing. I wouldn't suggest if you're trying to rank for mesothelioma lawsuit, you just go put it on a page 10,000 times and go, ta-da, I'm done. I mean, there's other factors as well that come into play. So it's not the only one. But yeah, keyword density is a powerful ranking factor. We know that from testing and from other data as well. So, and that's one actually that there were several times where Google has said over time that keyword density is not a part of the algorithm. So if it's not in there explicitly, it's in there as an emergent factor based on the data we see in the SERPs and in tests.
I've also been following Lee's test results for years, and I gotta say, he's probably one of the best SEO testers out there. Okay, I need to make sure I get him on the show sometime. Okay, let's make sure, how much does SEO cost in 2022? Ross Hutchins shares his insights. Let's check it out.
How much does it cost? And the short version is SEO consulting on average will cost around $150 an hour for well done work. That can mean $3,000 plus per month, depending on the vertical. And then in some industries, you can be spending anywhere from $5,000 a month to $100,000 plus a month for those services. So that's just a rough, what does it cost generally, but wanted to reframe this idea to say, you don't want to know what does it cost, you want to know what do you need to invest to see results. And that mindset shift is important to actually see the results you want and to understand the vertical appropriately to get those results.
Ross is pretty spot on from what I pay agencies at my job and what I personally charge for consulting. There's a lot of money being made in the SEO space. Google added a new feature on mobile search. Aaron Sparks shares the news on the edge of the web. Let's check it out.
There's a new Google mobile search feature. Check this out. People search next. I actually like this a lot. Google's launched a new feature in the mobile search results called People Search Next. A Google spokesman actually confirmed with Search Engine Land. The feature is meant to help people more easily get to see the popular next searches based on what they were searching, according to the Google spokesperson. We actually have a screenshot of that example of typing in dentist near me. The People Search Next goes into what's a root canal? Does your tooth hurt after a filling? How to treat an abscessed tooth? How long does numbing stay after dentist? And then they also have a series of related searches. So the next question after dentist near me is, what is a root canal? That's some emergency search right there. Get thee to the doctor immediately. Okay, but I do like this because it has a direct connection to what you're searching and why you're searching that particular query. So that's great for content writers. I mean, if you're doing a near me activation on your own website, building some content, that one step after, answer those questions as quickly as you can. You could very well populate those next searches, right?
I'm a huge advocate for using Google Search to create content. You can read more about it in the SEO in 2022 book. This brings me to my favorite part of the show, but before I introduce my guests, let's hear a word from our sponsor. Are you sick of your competitors outranking you in the search results? Your solution is Ahrefs Webmaster Tools, and it's free $99. This isn't one of your 14-day free trial offers. Instead, it's a super powerful tool that'll do a full website audit for you and keep working for you for free. It'll scan your site and prioritize precisely what you need to fix and improve for your search results. Visit hrefs.com webmaster-tools for this free tool. Find the link below, and by checking our sponsors, you support this show. Now let's introduce our guest.
Kevin is a strategy-driven SEO and content marketer. He's a winner of over 15 search awards. He was named Search Personality of the Year at UK Search Awards 2018. He has worked with clients that include Expedia, Auto Trader, Pottery Barn, and Deloitte. He's speaking at over 100 events internationally, and for the last 10 years, he is a columnist writer at eConsultancy, Search Engine Watch, The Drum, Fast Company, and Search Engine Land. Please welcome the founder of Resignal, Kevin Gibbons.
Kevin, my man, welcome to the show.
Thank you. That's quite the intro. So yeah, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. You know, we share a common author in here in the SEO 2022 book by Majestic and David Bain. You know, I'm glad to have shared this the book and with being with you on it. And that's one thing I really want to talk about later on today. But before we go, I asked this one question to all my guests at the very first minute. In 1 minute, how does Kevin get ranking on Google?
I feel like the old school way of doing this is still the way that it should be done today. Look at who's ranking number one. Copy them. I feel like there's so much that you can learn from. Actually, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but look at the signs. Google rank different sites for different reasons in different verticals, and pay attention to what Google is valuing. And if you're not number one, learn about how someone got to number one and try and figure out what's the footprint of how did they get there, whether that's technical, on-site, content, link reputation, kind of all of it really. But the more that you can understand about why a site ranks number one, the more chance you've got of being there yourself.
Love it. First knowledge bomb of the day. Okay. You know what? Let me rewind this real quick. Kevin, you got to take us way back into time. Let us know, how did you even first get into SEO?
So it was 2003. I was at university, Oxford Brookes, and I did a placement year at a web design agency that's local in Oxfordshire. And to be honest, at that point, I hadn't done that well at uni. some things I enjoyed, some things I really didn't. And I was studying and kind of on a route towards being a web developer. And SEO kind of came up as part of this. It was a new service that the web design agency had started adding on to their web design and development clients. And I wasn't involved directly, but indirectly I started to see what they were doing, got curious. And I felt like at that stage, it was a really good time to be average at everything. So I was average at building websites. I was average at designing websites. And then I started to learn about SEO. And I think the combination of those skill sets led me down a route of creating affiliate sites for myself, because I could do all of it from start to finish. I didn't really have budget, so it's just like I had to use my own skills to do that. And literally the only money I would have paid would have been for web hosting. And I learned through building websites, making money off of AdSense, and yeah, just kind of trying to do something back then for beer money. How do I, kind of just learn? And to be honest, I went back to uni the year after that, and I was much more curious and excited about building my own sites and having stuff that I could just play around with myself. And that was where that interest sparked. And I think it just led me down a bit of a rabbit hole of, I'm curious, let's see where this takes me. And I mean, I never planned on starting an agency or doing SEO long term. It's just, this is something that I liked that instant gratification, if you like. If you make changes, certainly back then, you can change a title tag and within 3 days on average, you can see, okay, has that bumped up or gone down based on what you're doing? If it went down, do something different. If it went up, try a few new things that can take it further. And that just, I just got really passionate about that. I just found it was much more exciting to me than web development. And I think I got lucky on the timing. Web development at that time was very competitive. There were developers that were so much better than me. Whereas in SEO, back in 2003, we were all making it up as we went along. So I was it's a low barrier to get started. Obviously, you're not going to get an education in SEO, certainly back then. And it's just, if you can make money out of it. And like I say, it wasn't big money by any stretch, but even like making £5-10 a week for me was like, this is exciting, and I can maybe build on it. So how it started. And it's just curiosity more than anything else.
Love it. Okay, so curiosity, you're a web developer. I mean, I think that's like a lot of kind of like for people that's been into the game that long, it's kind of like the footsteps. Like you start doing web development, maybe like, on like web design, and then you kind of comes with the territory, right? And it's like, oh, how do you do this SEO? So I'm curious then, you were creating your own websites, but like, how did you actually learn it? Were you following anyone? Were you going on like certain websites or forums? What was your like way of learning it?
Yeah, so in the early days, Search Engine Watch was one of the big sites that followed. And I remember 2006 is when I started consulting, and I spent a year in Australia in time. And I remember reading pretty much every blog post that Bram Fishkin wrote back then. I just thought that was gold. That was the stuff that in those days, the Moz blog, or SEO Moz back then, was, this is the site to follow. It felt very cutting edge. I'm learning from this. And to be honest, the biggest thing for me has always been experimentation, test and learn, try new things. And like I say, what works, what doesn't, and do more of what works, less of what doesn't. And I think just doing that, and actually I started blogging myself, which is how I started to win clients. But I didn't write for an audience back then. I wrote for myself. This is how I'm learning. What am I learning? Just so that I can document it and say, okay, I tested this last time, so next time I'm going to test this. This is how it's working. But I did it publicly. And I then found that, to my surprise, people were reading this and people valued it and liked it. And I ended up getting links back from sites like Search Engine Watch, which added credibility, and started to rank quite highly. I think at one point I ranked number 2 in Google for SEO agency. That led to quite a lot more leads, and there were all sorts of certain things like that I think yeah, just ended up me realizing that, okay, well, I'm doing this for myself with websites. Maybe I could do it for other people as a consultancy. And it was, like I say, it wasn't this day one, I've got this dream of I'm going to build an agency. It was day one was let's try something new, and day two was let's try something that I haven't tried before, etc., etc. To the point that I look back and it's like, okay, maybe I have an agency now. But yeah, that's literally it was very much step by step.
Love it, love it. Okay, so I'm curious, what was your blog about? What were you actually blogging? Were you just passionate about just writing a blog about?
It was about some of the tests and experiments that I did with SEO. I played around a bit of AdWords in those days as well. Like SEO was always my passion, but I just wanted to get into all things Google, and just I feel like looking back, I've had quite a commercial mindset. Obviously, I run a business, but I got into AdWords, and I liked AdWords because it was more ROI focused in terms of ad spend versus results. And I feel like I've always had that similar approach to how to look at organic search in the same way. But I blogged about both SEO and some Google AdWords. I got featured quite a lot on Search Engine Watch back then because I would be in AdWords all of the time, and I'd notice the new features that they were rolling out. And I was in Australia, so I had a 12-hour head start over the UK, and it just, timing wise, it felt like whenever these changes happened, I was the first to notice. And then because I'd noticed it, I used to write in back then Barry Schwartz's Search Engine Roundtable. It's I think, here's a new feature. I wrote about it on my blog, and he used to always link back to it on Search Engine Roundtable. And back when he was at Search Engine Watch, it's featured there. So yeah, my blog was very much basically a blog of curiosity around SEO and paid search, and what am I learning, what am I noticing that's changing and evolving along the way. And because other people were looking into that, reading it and referencing it, and obviously linking back, it just snowballed into more like stronger reputation, stronger website. And like I say, kind of the leads in the early days kind of flowed from there, from small businesses through to kind of enterprise global clients further down the line.
Love it, love it. Okay, now this takes us to our present day of your agency. So you said you were getting leads, and then when did Resignal start? Like, was this the time we were blogging? Would you have your own personal agency at first? Like, tell us the story about how Resignal formed and how you found it.
So there's different milestones. I would say initially in 2006, I started an agency called SEO Optimize, which was essentially me for a year in Australia. I just wanted to have a company name. And honestly, I think that was more, I wanted to look more professional, and maybe it was even a lack of confidence in my own ability. Who's going to hire me as a student that is a consultant? Let's try to pretend to be a company. And looking back, I'm glad I did, because it was nice to build that brand reputation. I'll give you kind of like the quicker version of this. Happy to go into detail on any of it. But in 2007, I teamed up with a business partner in Oxfordshire, and we built an agency from the two of us into probably £1.2 million worth of revenue, about 15 people over the course of 6 years. In 2012, I then left that agency. I structured a deal where I essentially exited, but as a combination of cash, people, and clients, and restarted again. And from that point, there's been various rebrands. I became part of, I don't know if you ever recall the agency Blue Glass in the US. We became very well known for content marketing in particular in the early days. And again, I felt they were kind of ahead of the curve in terms of the type of work they did. Sadly, that didn't work out. Became the UK part of that company, and it's failed quite kind of spectacularly, if I'm honest. Within probably 6 months of us becoming a part of that group, that was in 2013. And we continued with the Blue Glass name for a couple of years after that, and then rebranded as Resignal. And Resignal has been our brand for, I think, the last 3 years, maybe 4 this year. And Yeah, it's so like I say, the early stages of that has been very much 2006, me on my own, and like I say, that's evolved in different shapes and forms along the way. But yeah, with different learnings across the journey, of course. But yeah, as Resignal, we've been going 4 years, but really there's a history behind that stems back, yeah, much deeper.
Love it, love it. Okay, now you got to tell us the secret ingredients of how your agency has won so many awards and as successful as it is. I mean, if someone wants to start an agency or even just like become a consultant, like maybe like you're talking about, just that one person, just build a website and become that one person. Like, what are some like a few things that you can give some advice to someone that wants to become successful as Resignal?
So, you know what, this sounds a bit funny because I run a marketing agency, and the biggest change is we slashed our marketing budget. I shouldn't be saying that. And what we did is we realized we looked good from the outside. We were speaking at all of the events, we were blogging, we were quite active on social, etc., etc. But underneath it all, we were kind of losing clients, we were churning people, and it felt like we had our priorities wrong. And I think what we did is we had a bit of a learning curve, and we said, okay, well, yes, it's nice to do all of that stuff. And I'm not against blogging, speaking, social at all. I actually think it has its place. But you've got to get it right on the inside first. And then the outside kind of takes care of itself and you can amplify it. And for us, it was very much, how do we look at, how do we have the right structure internally? How do we have the right team? The team are the people who are going to get the results on the clients. Let's make sure we've got the right people, we've got the right culture, they're thriving, they're enjoying themselves, they're doing great work. And it was very much, let's forget about marketing. Let's forget about what we want to say publicly. Let's do great work for our clients. That's what we're here for. That's our vision, and our mission is very much focused around serving our clients, getting the best results for them. And the more that we can do that, we found that without trying to market ourselves, we grew much quicker because firstly, retention is growth. When you're trying to win clients, but you're losing clients, this has been described to me before as running a bath with the plug open. And it's very much felt like that. You're winning new business, but you're losing existing clients. And that's a horrible feeling, quite honestly. Yeah. And I think our focus became, let's retain our clients. Let's do great work with our clients, and then we grow with them. If we grow with them, they refer us to other clients. Sometimes people in those companies leave. They've taken us with us to new companies because they know that the work we've done is good and they trust us. We then have case studies that are strong because we've done good work. That adds more credibility. And then from there, we've had, okay, this work's really good. That's an award entry. So the awards as being part of our marketing strategy, in a funny way, has come from us not marketing ourselves and focusing on what's essential. Because when you think about it, if the quality of our work is poor, there is an art to writing an award entry, absolutely. But if you haven't got results, you're never going to win the award. So for us, it was, let's not just do it for the award's sake. Let's do it because this is how to run a good agency and a good business. But then we amplify what's good about us. And it just, from a social and marketing and amplification perspective, it just felt a lot more authentic because it's now we're doing good work and we want to shout about it. We don't want to be in that position where it's, look at us, we're amazing. And our clients are like, wait, you haven't replied to an email for 3 weeks. Like, what are you doing? It's like, that's horrible. So no, we flipped it the other way. Let's do great work. And then when we've got something to shout about, let's do that. But I feel like we've done it in our own way. And I feel like we're relatively humble about the way that we approach talking about ourselves, certainly. But equally, I like that. I feel like it should be about our clients and our team first and foremost. And then if we can get some industry reputation off the back of doing good work, then I'm all for it. But it's got to be done for the right reasons.
Love it, love it. So basically, you want to make sure you have happy customers and generate results, right? And this, it just picks up from there. I mean, with all the referrals. So speaking of results and data-driven, you're a data-driven SEO. I'm curious, like take us into what what is a data-driven SEO? Like what do you how do you classify that with with yourself as being a data-driven SEO?
So I think it's similar to what I mentioned before in the sense of I have quite a commercial mindset, and I've realized that my strength is no longer, I'm not the best SEO anymore, because to be honest, my role over the last few years it's been running an agency. It's not so much how do I, there's clients that I'm still involved in terms of overseeing the work, and there's others that I'm more strategic with. But the strength I've had and the sweet spot I found is I know how to run a business. I'm commercially minded, and I have a background in SEO, like I say, since 2003. So it's very much, okay, well, what I can bring to the party is this is commercially how we can help you to grow. And as a founder, if I spend money on something, I want to see a return on investment. So I'm very much this. I find phrases like growth marketing and performance marketing a bit stupid, if I'm honest, because it's like, what's the alternative? Fluffy marketing. I kind of find that if it's not performance and if it's not generating growth, then why do it? That's always been my take, and I think it should be very much SEO should fall into that category. You're doing this as an investment on growing your business. And certainly when I have discussions with clients, it's very much, what is it that your ambition is trying to achieve? What are your targets? How do we work backwards from that and make sure that we've got a budget which we think is capable of hitting those targets? There's an ROI that's positive for our clients, and it's a win-win relationship. And I think, again, sometimes I feel like that sounds obvious, but I feel like that can be where SEO goes wrong. Sometimes you get straight into what are the issues without asking so what's it going to bring to the business? How are you going to grow? What does it mean? How do you value this? And how do you go to your CMO or your CEO and say, I want to spend X amount of money and it's going to generate a potential return of Y? And I guess that leads into forecasting to a certain extent, but I think it absolutely starts with those business objectives being very clear and the right mindset from a kind of alignment side of things as well.
All right. Okay, now we want to get into what you were just talking about. I mean, what we were talking about in the SEO in 2022 book. Okay, guys, if you are based out of the US, shoot me an email. If you're one of the first 3 people to shoot me an email, I will send you a copy of this book. I'll mail it to you in the US, and I will pick winners for if you're outside the US and send you a Kindle version. But you can also guess what page Kevin starts on. The closest one will also get a copy of this book. So guess what page he is, and I will let you guys know the winner at the end of the show. So, Kevin, what is more like? Can you tell us more like what's the need for a good SEO forecast? What is SEO forecasting? Tell us all about it.
Firstly, I'm so glad you didn't ask me what page of the book I'm on. I have no idea. For the forecasting, I think it's about alignment. It's about knowing what are the objectives from the client's perspective, and then how do you turn that into a forecast that meets their objectives? And it's not going away blind. I find in the early stages of talking to a new prospect or a new client, I will ask them a lot of questions, and it's questions about their goals, their objectives, their growth targets, and how do we understand that? And as much as I can link that to revenue, the easier it is, because then you can take the forecast back to that level. And I think there's great forecasting tools on the market in terms of what you can do. There's analysis, and I think most SEOs would definitely love to dig around into maybe a combination of tools in terms of what they're doing. I did a forecasting video tutorial with SEO Monitor, and I think that was something that, again, just going through that process of the video tutorial, it helped me to think about, okay, what is the step-by-step? Because sometimes I just do it off the top of my head. And when I think about it, it is very much, what is it that they're trying to achieve? What's their current performance? So I would try and ask like 3 questions, which is, where are you now? Where are you going? How are you going to get there? And you have to answer them in that order. So you need to know what the current performance is, before you can set a real expectation on how far you think you can get. And then you can look at the competition. You have to be realistic. If you're a startup and you're like, oh, well, our biggest competitor is Amazon, can we catch them? So yeah, how much money have you got? Can you acquire them? So it's like, it's not going to be easy, is it? So I think it's setting realistic expectations. It's knowing what the size of the ambition is. There's a budget that, like I say, if you've got billions of dollars, then sure, you can achieve almost anything that you want to. But I think you've got to be realistic with what's being achieved. And then you start from a case of, okay, let's work backwards. Where do we want to be? What drives revenue in terms of keywords, topics, categories, and then trying to build that into a projection of how much search volume is on the table. But I think the one tip I'd have in terms of forecasting is try and relate it to the business as much as you can. Take it beyond, we can get you from 100,000 visits to 400,000 visits. Take it from, we can get you from £100,000 or dollars to £400,000 or dollars. That makes it so much more compelling. And then that's what I was mentioning before. When you talk about a paid search mindset, you don't look at paid search and say, oh, if we spent this amount of money in Google Ads, how much traffic would you get? You talk about, if you spent this amount of budget, how much revenue would you generate? What's your CPA? SEO, everyone knows SEO is a longer term play. But if you're going to invest serious money in doing this, like I say, as a growth channel, which like I say, it should be, you absolutely have to think that way. And yes, some of it is forecasting, it's predictions, but I feel like some people can get obsessed with, we have to be 100% accurate. And I'd happily be 80% accurate rather than playing completely blind. So I don't think you need to, kind of get to the point where you say, if this isn't 100% accurate, I'm not going to try and think about the business goals at all. That to me just seems really backwards.
Love it. Okay, so how does this work with, like, are you doing this like in the very beginning with proposals with everyone? Like, what's like, is this like something that you always forecast with your clients to like close them, or is like when are you actually doing this work for them? Like,
yeah, quite often I'd say it's in the proposal or a pitch stage. We might say, let's have access to analytics. Let's see how you're currently getting on. Let's look at the marketplace and see what we think the potential is to grow. Where are you right now? SEO to me has always been about the three key pillars of technical content and link reputation. And there might be different weightings behind what that is valued at, but essentially, why is a competitor winning? What do you need to do to catch them? And then, you can turn that into a forecast at a top level. You can go granular. If it's, say, e-commerce, for example, you can go more category-led and say, let's start with these 3 to 5 categories, see where we can make a dent and, get things moving at first. And then I feel like the forecast should never just be a set it and forget it. It shouldn't be you pitch with a forecast, you do a load of work, and then you forget about what you said. It should be you forecast, you monitor, you again go back to that test and learn experimentation phase, review how you're doing and build upon it. So I'd advocate reforecasting. I'd advocate just making sure that you know the market, you know how things are changing, and then it's easier to understand, are you on track versus where you said, and keep it moving forward.
Love it. Okay, we're getting some questions in the audience here. I want to bring one from, what's this, Davidson. How do you price SEO?
So I liked Ross's answer, actually, that you played before. And I think that was a good answer on the day rate side. I think for me, what I would look to do is I'd look at the opportunity. There's clients we've turned away because we felt that actually SEO isn't the best channel for them. And I know everyone, well, a lot of people might say everyone should do SEO. And to a certain extent, maybe do the fundamentals and the basics. But should you be investing in SEO as your primary channel, if you think it's the best chance of generating revenue versus the other channels, then absolutely yes. But how to price it, I would say look at the size of the opportunity. I'm a big fan of value-based pricing. So look at if the opportunity to grow means that you're going to generate tens of millions in revenue, then you should be pricing according to that, really. So like look
Love
at
it.
how much profit would you be generating to that company? What would they be willing to pay for it? And what do you need to do to make it happen? Otherwise, we've seen this before, there's big targets and tiny budgets, and it's setting yourself up to failure. So understand before you even look at budgets, understand the size of the opportunity, and then the more that you can do that, the more compelling a budget would be to getting it signed off.
All right. Show me the money.
much, yeah.
All right. Okay, so we got more questions over here. We have one from Thomason. We have a couple from Thomason. Thomason asks, how do you motivate your team to get them doing their best work? What have you tried and what works best?
I think sometimes it's like the team that we hire, we have values in terms of what we hire against. And we have people that are very passionate about learning, I think is a big thing. So just making sure they've got those traits of what I was saying about earlier. We have people that, I'd say the flip side, if you don't learn, you're not going to last very long in this industry because it changes so much. I think you have to keep on top. And I think to a certain extent they're self-motivated. I'm not sure for us, I've always seen it as let's give them great clients to work on. We're very clear about, for us, our key sectors are typically e-commerce, financial services and travel. We work with typically medium to enterprise size brands. We have exciting challenges for them to get stuck into. We are quite active in the industry in the sense of we attend events, we speak at events, we run our blog. So now I feel like we're doing that from the right place, as opposed to what I was saying about with marketing earlier. We run lunch and learn knowledge shares. Everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. Let's share the strengths and build everyone's knowledge around the team. But if you're not self-motivated and curious and have those kind of traits of wanting to learn and improve, then there's only so far it's going to take you. So it's a balance. If we can win exciting brands that they can get stuck into, then I feel like that's half the battle. And then it's down to them as a team to work together and combine their skill sets, and then kind of grow from there.
Love it. Okay, we got a couple questions that are kind of related here, and you mentioned like skill sets, because we have Fletcher here ask, what skills do you look for when hiring SEO? And then Thomason will also ask, how do you hire talents and what do you look out for? So it's kind of related here. So like, what are some certain skill sets and what do you look for in a person? Because I know there's a lot of people out there. I mean, I'm trying to promote SEO and get SEOs hired. So what can someone do to get hired at Resignal?
So I think there's two things. You need the skill and you need the will. And I think that for me, the skill is very obvious. It's how much experience and quality of experience and knowledge do you have? And again, it doesn't have to be you've been in the industry for 20 years. You could have been in the industry for 6 months. If you've picked up a certain level of understanding and you've grown within that, years doesn't necessarily mean ability. However, I think if you've worked on the type of clients that we work on for a number of years and you've done a good job over a long period of time, that's certainly a strength. And what I mean by the will is more the culture, the values, how do they fit into the team? How will they work with our clients in terms of kind of cultural chemistry fit? And the more that we're confident that that's going to gel, then that's really important. So for us, defining our core values and what we look for within our team and actually holding people to account against not just the results, but also the values, I think has been quite a turning point for us to, like I say, kind of maybe in the past, there might have been more issues with the team in certain ways. And I feel like now actually for us, if someone doesn't work out within the company, I'd always, in a lot of ways, take that personally if that's our failing. And I think the more that we can understand what are our values, how do we recruit and find the right people for us? And like I say, values doesn't mean that a person is good or bad. It's just what do we need in order for that to work with our team as the right fit. The values, in my opinion, are probably more important than the skill. I feel like you can teach the skill, you can't teach the will. It's like, it's got to be the right fit. And we challenge ourselves on that. Again, there's certain things that from a cultural perspective, it's not about everyone agreeing. Conflict and disagreements are good. We need to challenge each other. We need to have diversity in the team that says, actually, no, we might have always done things this way, but it doesn't mean that's right, or it doesn't mean that's the best way. We can improve this. So there has to be a bit of healthy conflict in there as well. But yeah, I think for us, the values have just become incredibly important. And I guess to tackle the extension to that question, we have different skill sets that we look for. So we have, I feel like SEO has changed quite a lot over the years in terms of the depth and breadth of the knowledge that you need to have. You could be a SEO consultant 10 years ago, and you could get away with everything SEO comes to this person. And now you have technical SEO consultants to the point that you might be an expert in page speed or web experience. You might be an expert in hreflang. You could be an expert in all sorts of things just for technical SEO. You could be a content strategist. You could be a digital PR outreach specialist. You could be an ideas person in terms of creative campaigns. So there's so many skill sets that you need to get together and work on a team. And I think as an agency, you need that team approach. You need an organizer, project manager, an account manager. And there's not one person that can do all of this. It's very rare you can find someone that is even at a good level across all of them, let alone great. And I think that's the key thing. If actually we've had people in our team that have maybe been all-rounders, but we probably try and force them down a route of, okay, what's that one thing you really want to nail? How do you, over the next 2 or 3 years, become kind of good at that deep expertise? And it's that I really like the T-shaped marketer model. It's good to have awareness about how you do the other aspects of SEO. If you don't know anything about content or links and you just know about technical SEO, you could be missing a bigger picture, and vice versa, etc. So it's good to have awareness, but equally, I feel like you probably need to pick one and say, okay, this is the thing that I want to be known for. And that's what we look for within our team. How do we have that deep expertise that we could drop into a client and we could say, your issue is page speed, we're going to fix this, and we're going to make sure that you've got one of the best people that can do that, just as an example.
Excellent!
Okay. All right. So I want to kind of take this back. I mean, I don't know if, actually, how many people actually do you have in your agency right now? Like how many have in your company?
Yeah, so there's 18 of us that are full-time, and we have an extension of kind of copywriters and a network of writers that we can tap into as well. So yeah.
I'm curious, was there did someone like stand out when they applied or whatever? Like what was that one thing that caught your eye and you said, oh, I'm going to bring this person on. He's going to be a part of my team. Like what did that one person have, or what was it that someone that you actually hired yourself or brought into, the agency? What was that one thing that just made you like, he or she has to be on my team?
So there's one example of someone that I hired about 15 years ago, and I had lunch with him earlier today. I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning him, but Marcus Taylor, who when I interviewed him, was 17. He hadn't gone to college. He, on paper, his CV looked, if you look at it from an academic perspective, it was weak because that's not the route that he went down. But from a entrepreneurial perspective, it was brilliant. It was like, okay, I've run a record label, and I think he was like coding from the age of kind of like 11, 12 or something like that. And this would have been, probably about 15 years ago, honestly. And it just struck me that, do you know what, this might not be the person that everyone would recruit. And back then, the company was in Oxford. We typically recruited a small team, but we looked at the universities. We took some people out of Oxford University, other people at Brooks, where I went to. And I think for us, just actually thinking, okay, well, what's their mindset? And again, going back to the values, it's like that curiosity. You could tell he might not have done SEO before. I think he had quite a keen interest, if I recall, on social at the time, and it was just okay. Well, this person can probably try new things. And like I said before, if you hire someone based on what they've done as a skill set today, the industry is so fast paced that you need people that are lifetime learners. And Marcus was a great example of someone that would just throw himself deep in and just honestly come out with sometimes the most random ideas, but in a brilliant way of like, I never even would have thought of that. That's incredible. and yeah, I think that's a good example of it's that curiosity, it's trying new things. And yeah, I think people like that certainly is a trait. There's a lot of people that I could do a whole podcast episode on people that we've hired that I think have gone on to achieve great things. And I've often said to me that that's my proudest moment of actually, if I can play a part in helping people to develop, that's something that I look back on with immense pride, that I'm not taking credit absolutely for anyone's career, but just helping in terms of that journey. They have to make it for themselves. But yeah, it's something that I'm immensely proud of, playing a part in and helping them along the way. So yeah, I think it's down to what you make of it. If you're, I always like the quotes, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And I think if you've got that kind of attitude of I'm going to make this happen, you'll absolutely go on to succeed. And like Marcus is a great example of that. Again, if someone that's done incredibly well, and I think anyone that would have known him from the early days of SEO Optimized would not be surprised in the slightest. And it's down to that attitude and mindset. And I think the reverse is probably true, that if you don't want to make it happen, then maybe it won't. But certainly I'd rather focus on how do you kind of give it your best shot, do what you can, and see where you end up.
Love it. Get that entrepreneurial spirit, that curiosity, just do it. Okay, we got a question here by Kayak Life. One more. This will be my last question from the audience, and then I'll ask my last question here. We got, what tools do you manage the team flow? Jira, Airtables, etc. Anything work better for an SEO team?
So we use two key tools. One is internal, one is external. So internally, we use Asana, and that helps us to understand what tasks are scheduled to the team against kind of client budgets and the amount of time that we have available to work on those clients and across teams. I feel like that's something that has helped us to keep organized. And then for client communications, we use Basecamp. So we found that that's useful in order to keep comms in one place. If you add someone to a team, or if someone changes or moves teams, either agency side or in-house, you've got the history all in one place. Emails can get lost. And we've used Basecamp for about 10 years, to be actually longer than 10 years. And that's always been very valuable to us to keep those two flowing. But I think it's like anything with this, you have to keep on top of it, and you have to have the right input that goes into it to make it work for you. And there's a bit of trial and error, and we've gone back and forth a little bit in terms of the tools we've tested and figured out. I think someone said a while back that I think in terms of growing agencies, everything breaks every 7 people that you hire, and I'd absolutely agree with that. And I think the tools and the internal systems that you use, what got you here won't always take you there. So I think kind of trying to look ahead. If it is SaaS based, certainly once you reach a certain scale, it's easier than running around in spreadsheets, and less margin for error, and it certainly for a collaborative perspective to work as a team. But there's different tools on the market. Monday.com might be, but those two I guess are our go-tos at the moment. Like I say, that may change in the future if we find that it doesn't reach the next scale of growth. Who knows? But so far they've served us well.
Love it. I'm actually familiar with those two pieces of software. I mean, I love them too. It's really great. I can vouch for those two, Basecamp and Asana. Great tools if you're going to run your agency and teams. Okay, so Kevin, I'm coming down to my last question. I asked last question to all my SEO professionals before I let them go. And you know, this show is all about becoming an SEO. So if someone wants to become an SEO, what would be your advice for them to become an SEO professional?
It's going back to where I started. And I don't want to just say this because that's what I did. This is 20 years on, things have changed. But my advice is still build your own website, test, learn, experiment, get excited. SEO might not be for you. Try a few other things. But if you're very, like, let's say you're kind of just out of uni as an example, or just getting into SEO, try some other things and be curious. Like what gets you excited? And I think, again, I feel like the advice on follow your passion can be a bit tricky, because sometimes you need to figure out what you're good at before you get passionate about it. And I think I was probably like that with SEO. Once I realized, okay, I'm good at this, I just made a website rank #1 for a term I was targeting, I become more passionate because I could see it working. Whereas if I was banging my head against a brick wall, I probably wouldn't say, oh, this is my passion, I'm destined to do this. So I think just test, learn, experiment, but try different things and see where it takes you. And I think the thing that's changed, like I say, between when I started and now is just the depth of knowledge across everything. No one's the best SEO in the world at every aspect of SEO. So find that niche within a niche, and kind of go that. I think it's Pat Flynn who said, kind of go an inch wide and a mile deep. And I think that's the sort of thing that you want to get to within SEO. What really gets the results for you is that content strategy, is that technical SEO or a specific part of technical SEO. Is it building business case and forecasts? Is it, kind of link reputation, link building, digital PR? Once you know that and you understand it, then you can go deeper. But I'd start by being curious and then see where it takes you.
Love it. Thank you for that. All right, guys, be curious is a key word that we've heard multiple times today. Be curious. It'll get you somewhere in the SEO space. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off here, Kevin. If you could hold on for one quick second, I'm going to go ahead and sign off real quick. Let me see. Of course. All right. All right, guys, that concludes another episode of the SEO Video Show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And don't forget to visit our sponsor at hrefs.com/AWT. I'll see you next week. Peace out.
Thank you for watching. Hope you come back next week. Make sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss a thing. Hope you learn something new, because the vibe is incredible. From the special SEO professionals, SEO video show. Let's work. Want to see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre De Vera helping you step it up. No delay right now. Time to level up. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Woo!